Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, I live in China. I come from the city Shenzhen, where I work right now. No, this is good. So interestingly, every time I come back to the event like this, with startup meeting investor, this reminds me the first 15 years of my life. I founded my first startup in the U.S., internet startup in '95, and spent the first 15 years of my life running around in venue like this. And then I moved to China. Starting in 2010, by becoming more on the research side to really think about, look at the rise of the China, what drives it, how's the innovation working there. And interestingly, in 2010, when we started to look into the journey of how China innovate, it gets very interestingly, most of people say, well, it's a copycat nation. It cannot innovate. It has to have a systematic change. It has to become democracy. It has to renew its entire education system. And 10 years later, when we talk about AI, this is probably in everybody's mind when it comes to China. So to thinking about AI everywhere, well, AI is everywhere. You open the newspaper, everybody is talking about AI. Everybody's talking about ethical implications. Everybody's talking about how scary, how dystopia the future is. But you don't experience AI. You really don't experience them the first hand, living outside of China. From outside looking in, it's the ultimate vision of dystopia, authoritarian, surveillance state. And that's everybody's label. And it becomes scary. People, every time you see this picture, a whole bunch of Chinese gets identified by the AI, it looks scary. But looking in from China, and of course, in an event like this is the kind of slide everybody use. I really love the morning one of the presenters say, okay, well, China has 300 some AI startup, the same number as Israel. But the funny thing is, if you look at unicorn, China has a lot of them. But the more important part is for every VC invested category of startup in AI, there's a couple hundred of them exist in China without the VC fundings. Facial recognition. Outside of China, if you talk about facial recognition, well, that's probably, you can count them by 10 fingers. In China, there's probably thousands of facial recognition startup. So when you look at the chart like this about China, it's really just in the tip of iceberg. The AI is more than just unicorn. And so the first place we are going to see a lot of them is of course, on the hardware side. Right now, if you think about AI, not just software, not just unicorn, but AI hardware, AI chips. Well, again, outside of China, there's not many of them. Inside China, this is just a partial list, about 30 of them. And we got new one every month. This morning, the e-commerce company in Alibaba just announced their AI chip just went into productions and will be available on their cloud next month. So, even our e-commerce company. And this leads to a very interesting place, is the AI application is becoming everywhere. So this is really how it looks like living in China. You go to the subway station. You can use your face and then you can go in. You go to buy stuff. You pay with your face. This is when people talk about how much Chinese value their face, And this is taking it to the next stage. But not just that. When you go into work these days, we work in the Chinese office, no longer you need to punch card. No longer you have time card. You go into the office, there's a camera there, it scans your face, and you check in, you clock in. So these days, if you run a company and be a boss in China, well, it's a blessing and a curse, because then you get a very detailed analytic about like how many times your employee goes in and out, when did they go to bathroom. They collect the data, but do you really care? But that's the proliferation of device. Everywhere you go, AI is being applied everywhere in China. Not in terms of the long-term vision, but in terms of the short-term need. Every single one of these devices, they solve a problem. So this is one of the most amazing AI device you will see in China. All right, so what is this? This is a facial recognition toilet paper dispensers for public restroom. This real exists. The existence of this machine is real. I took this picture at the railroad station in this city called Shijiazhuang. It's a second-tier city, third-tier city in China. But it's there. And of course, when you show these pictures outside of China, so everybody's starting to get in really scary. This is, the authoritarian surveillance state overreach. The scary thing about how much data the government is collecting. But the reality of this machine comes from a completely different backgrounds. Why we have this kind of machine? Because of this. In the public bathroom in China, 5 o'clock in the morning, you will get this grandpa, grandma going there, stealing all the tissue paper. And by the time the public bathroom is actually open, operational, there's no more tissue paper. And if you ever travel around third, fourth tier city in China, you know how painful that is. So there's a social problem. It's not, they don't do this on purpose. This grandpa, grandma in their 60s, 70s, they've grown up in a very poor China. And every resource is a scarcity. So they have the habit, when there are resources available, they will try to hold them. They will try to get them. They will try to collect them as much as possible. And so how do you deal with it? How do you control it? Sending someone sitting there, rationing, passing out tissue paper, try it. But then the grandpa, grandma are actually pretty scary. Use WeChat, scanning barcode, and then getting tissue paper. They don't really like it, and it's too complicated. And when the facial recognition becoming reliable, becoming workable, this kind of machine emerge to look at. You think about crafting a good user experience with AI. That's what it looks like. You go into the restroom, you show your face, you get some tissue paper, you go about your business, and then for the next 20 minutes, you don't get any more. It's a natural interactions. It's rationing. It doesn't have big sign condemning the grandpa, grandma for doing what they do. This integrated AI into the life and the normal life with no prejudice, with no judgment. It's just there to do a job. And this is what is so. And really, the second side of this is how much toilet tissue they lose and how cheap we can make machine like this. This machine costs $300. That's a return on investment for people who run the public toilet in 12 months. So that's easy math. You don't need to go raise money, try to build a machine, try to talk to every big company and try to adopt this. You build a machine, go to your local public toilet administrations, and then, well, you have a business. You are in business. So interesting part is right now every city in China has a couple startups doing this. And none of them is going for VC. They are deploying huge amount of machine everywhere. So how did we get to, so here's another thing, is the body who runs AI matter. When we talk about AI anywhere, they don't just live on our mobile phone. They live in our environment. It's a machine who runs the AI. And when you are outside of China, when you're thinking about making a machine runs AI, you think expensive. You think very expensive machine. You think doing cutting-edge machine. But in China, well, you try to do this as cheap as possible. And China has that background to do this because we have, well, city of Shenzhen. I'm just curious, how many of you have heard of this city? Good, now we are famous. 10 years ago, we probably get like 3 persons raising their hand. Just very quick, this is the first special economic zone of China. 40 years ago, this is a fishing village of about 300,000 people. And right now, we are a global metropolitan of 15 million people. And of course, Silicon Valley of hardware, one of the key innovation hub around the world. But, well, you heard of Shenzhen. Shenzhen is now famous for innovation. But it's hard to actually name a leading cutting-edge company out of Shenzhen. Maybe you heard about Huawei. Maybe. Well, most of people heard about Huawei, all thanks to the promotion of White House. But if you really think about Shenzhen, this chart representing why Shenzhen is the Silicon Valley of hardware. So this is 2017, the mobile phone shipment. I like to use 2017 because I can say this. If you want to see what 2018 looked like, just flip Huawei and Apple. That's pretty much. So Huawei overtook Apple as number 2 last year. But interesting part about this chart, there is an American company. There is a Korean company. What about the rest? They are all Chinese. And with the exception of Xiaomi, everybody started and headquartered in Shenzhen. So our little tiny city in the south of China is now having globally 70% of the mobile brand situated in this one city. We didn't get there by having one big company. Well, as you can see, one big company doesn't work. We get there by having thousands of companies who can make mobile phone and starting to find in their niche and everything. And this is the device which embodies the AI, which is the primary interface everybody has to AI today. Continue that traditions. And that tradition really comes down to thinking about the future of AI body buildings. It's not going it from scratch. We already have this complete environment where the supply chain is reversed. Everybody can go in and build their mobile phone. Everybody can go in, build their AI body. The next question to ask, these days is not, can I build an AI body? You can look at places like Shenzhen as resource to think about, I can go and acquire AI body and put my AI on it and go with that for the next stage and building AI. And the other thing is really think about AI as a business. It's not just about getting the AI program, getting VC. when you are able to embed AI into a machine, people do pay for physical stuff. You can actually build business on physical stuff in a more traditional way. So that's the implications. So what we do, anything you want to take away is the hardware, the body of AI has become commodities. And if you want coffee, you come to Brazil. If you want the AI body, the body for the AI, you come to Shenzhen. So really to think about is where we are at AI. Everybody talks about AI being scary, but AI actually has been the most open technology ever. So this is what we think about what's the prerequisite to innovate. You need access to knowledge, you need access to technology, and you need access to productions. For those three, you can innovate. Today, if you look at AI, no longer you have to enroll in the best university in the world to be able to be the exclusive field to get to the AI education. Andrew Ng, Stanford AI professor, is going to educate 4 million people on AI for the next 5 years. The foundational software for AI is open source. You go download a piece of TensorFlow, you are using exactly the same copy of software US DoD is using. And place like Shenzhen, it closed the last loop. Now everybody can produce. Now taking all these three, taking the knowledge, taking the technology, now you can embed in your expertise into a bodies and reflecting the value out of it. So, outside of China, just about every single one of the VC invested conversational robot company has went under. Jibo just went out probably 6 months ago. But this is Shenzhen Airport. You go there, there's 100 robots ready on sale. Every single one of them talk to you. It's actually quite annoying. But this is how the body of AI looks like today. This is actually just one of the counters. This is the entire shop of robots in the Shenzhen Airport. So the implication of this is we continue to do a lot of research on open innovation in China, is how all this technology, because the other narrative of AI is the AI is going to take job, robot is going to take job. But our research in China actually reflects into another different directions. So this is Saji. This is one of the village we research. And if I told you there's a village of 50,000 people who managed to build an industry, a $2.2 billion revenue a year industry in 10 years with technology, with e-commerce. This happened, but the people build it is not AI expert. The people build it is common country force. They discover technology, and they did not think about technology as something they cannot use. They think about technology as something they can leverage. They discover e-commerce, they discover digital fabrication. They discover all this and then build an entire town up to become a prosper. Right now they are probably $2 billion US dollars a year in revenue. And they make furniture. So you get people like this. This lady we just interviewed in her late 30s, she was born in the village. For all intended purpose, her entire life trajectory is to be a farmer. 10 years ago, the village starting to use e-commerce, starting to sell stuff on e-commerce. She jumped in, she joined the business. Along the way, she got help from the platform developing AI to help them, developing chatbot to help her to handle more customers, developing algorithm to help her to get to more people. Now she's even on TikTok, doing all the selection, doing all the stuff, doing all the promotion of her products, her e-commerce. And 10 years later, she owns 2 houses. Both kids are going to the best school in the nearby cities. And if you go to that village, you can easily meet probably 5,000 of people just like her. And this is another person we interview. So this is a 50-year-old farmer, no previous education, as a third-grade education. She's there, he's there. His entire job is babysitting the CNC machine. A CNC machine, if you don't know, is industrial robots. As much as we talk about automations, that's in the entire production process, we cannot automate everything. And the thing we cannot automate becoming human. Becoming human has to handle them. So this farmer works 9 months a year in the factories, getting about $15,000 a month for salary, which is by the farm standard is awesome. Actually, by China standard is awesome. And what he does, entire thing is to take the raw material, stick it into the machine. Machine does whatever it does. And then take that raw material out of that machine and put it in another box. And so when the machine comes, people actually does that for really good money because it's no longer concentrated. The production, the manufacture become distributed. A small village in the middle of somewhere producing $2 billion furniture is going to have a lot of automation, but because of the way nobody goes to the other village to get a job, the machine becoming a better service, higher-in the productivity. So just to conclude is a lot of narrative we are talking about AI everywhere, this very scary dystopia. We get so scared reading all the news every day. It becoming a mental block to really release the AI potential for productivity, for helping improve human life. And well, inviting you to China to see actually what technology can do for people firsthand, and rethinking about what AI everywhere means. Thank you.